Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm headed to YouTube, so I'm going to be, I can't see you there. Now I can. Yeah, we made it. All right, I got to go get the cable TV going, but I'll be back.
Okay. 90, what? Yeah.
Mike, have they made any progress on that Waldo County woodshed thing?
No, I went by yesterday to check to see if Bob had dropped off any wood. He emailed me saying that if he had time this weekend, he was going to drop off the wood and then the materials. And then we have 3 people lined up to knock it together.
Okay.
I don't know if he dropped it by. It was raining too hard for me to leave the house today. So well, and but I'm pretty darned eager for us to get started knocking it together.
Yeah.
Because there'll be snow on the ground sooner, eventually.
Is it, did I misunderstand him, or I thought, oh, we were all ready to go, just needed the okay from us.
No, he said that he would supply materials and he wanted it in a shed. Originally, he was going to build the shed.
Yep.
So you are correct.
Yep.
But then he said, I've run out of time. I have bigger things to do, getting wood in, I guess, in their main pile, or getting wood distributed. If I drop the materials, can you get the volunteers up, and I will supply volunteers, and you can put it together in a day. Here's the plans. And we're still waiting for the materials, and he's selected a person, a volunteer, to kind of head it up and decide when to start. So
Okay.
I should be calling him and saying, Bob, what's going on?
Yeah. It just, I just don't want to lose the excitement of it. That's all.
No, I don't either. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And no, I mean, quite honestly, if it were up to me, I'd say throw down a half dozen pallets, get a tarp, and just pile the wood and cover it with a tarp, But since he's bringing the wood, supplying the wood, he wants to have it sheltered in a shed.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I'd love to have a shed, for my wood. But, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I know.
Shed.
Well, yeah.
I would love the time to actually stack my wood. That would be amazing.
That would be yeah. So rather than grabbing it from a pile, but I don't. Do you have cats who do you have any cats? Okay, so yeah, we used to have cats who would love piles of wood. I mean, that's where they would hang out and play and explore. And, now it's stacked, and we just have chipmunks and red squirrels. And snakes living in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't say that very loud. Someone in this household just can't even say the word.
Really?
Okay.
Bad.
Wow.
Bad.
That's too funny.
That's what I thought too, but.
But not funny. All right. Well, it's 6 p.m. Let's get rolling. Just to remind everyone that we are still operating under the state of emergency as declared by Governor Mills. As such, we are meeting remotely and doing so via Zoom. We encourage the public to participate, whether it's on Zoom, through the telephone, any other electronic means, or writing in to communicate with us. All action by the board will be taken by roll call, including adjournment. And if you have any questions about this process or any of the freedom of Access Act that we work within, feel free to send us a message. And as before we get rolling, Selectman Ray, would you read the quote of the evening, please?
I will. Be present in all things and thankful for all things. Maya Angelou.
Thank you very much.
Mm.
And David, do we have anyone for any non-agenda items under the Citizens Forum?
You actually do. Whoops. I'm not muted, but we received an email yesterday from Tracy Colby, and the message reads, "Dear Selectmen, I learned yesterday from the superintendent's office that a new COVID committee at the school decided to suspend in-school learning because some teachers on that committee are scared to teach. I know in the past, the selectmen have been advised not to interfere with the school. That dictate should now be out the door, and you, as elected officials, should defend the health and welfare of our children and their families. According to the US CDC director, the safest place for students is in school. If the school is closed, the budget should be reduced accordingly. Per your website instructions, this email is being sent by 3 on the 23rd in time to be considered as public comment at your meeting. Thank you for your consideration, Tracy Colby."
Okay. Thank you for the public participation. Is that it for anyone speaking under non-agenda items? Or under the Citizen Forum, rather?
That's all that was submitted via the website before 3. And the only attendee on Zoom that you have right now is Gary Schwal, and I assume he's here for agenda item number 7.
Okay, great. I feel like it's worth stating just for the record that pandemic circumstances are not, the select board is not the managing body over the school decisions. That is the school committee. And so I recommend for that effective route of communication to approach the school committee with anything regarding management of the school. We don't have control over that. And with regards to anything the voters approved with the budget, that happened many months ago. And we are already looking into, we're going to be talking later this evening about our schedule for working on next year's budget. So the voters have already approved months and months and months ago that budget that went into effect. So all that being said, let's move along to the administrator's report.
Administrator's report. Just a reminder. Sorry, it's hard to take notes and run a camera and pay attention. The absentee ballots for the selectmen's seat are available now here at the town office, either in person or by calling us. We'll mail one to you. Those have to be back and in the hands of the town clerk by Tuesday the 15th at 8 p.m. in order to be counted. Also, we'll be voting in person on the 15th in the gymnasium at the school from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Dog licenses all expire at the end of the year. So if you have a dog, you can renew your license or your dog's license online or here at the town office, preferably before the end of the year. And just wanted to give you all a heads up. I meant to announce it last time, but somehow it slipped through the cracks. The Lincolnville Networks and Lincolnville Communication Inc. Fiber received a grant from the state of Maine for extending broadband internet service to eligible student and teacher households in the towns of Hope, Lincolnville, and Appleton. In Lincolnville, they had identified, working with the school department, 85 potential students that could be served, and they have they're accepting applications now. As I understand it, they've received over 160 applications from the 3 town towns. They're looking to install about 75 miles of fiber in those 3 towns between now and the end of the calendar year. So if you're a student or a teacher or and that student goes from K to 12 plus college students living somewhere in the 3 communities and are underserved, go to what? www.tidewater.net/students. There's much more information out there on the program and the costs of that and how to sign up. And just so that people know, by the press release that Lincolnville Telephone put out, if you qualify for the program with a 1-year contract, you will receive free fiber optic installation at your residence with no upfront cost to you, a free router with no monthly charge, free internet for the first 6 months, supposedly 100 up and 100 down. And for the last 6 months of the contract, you pay $69.95 per month plus applicable taxes. But much more is on their website, and by all means, I would encourage anybody that is in an underserved area to at least explore that opportunity. They obtained the bulk of the grant in the state of Maine for these 3 towns, and it's seems like a pretty good program. And I think that is it for administrator's report.
Great, thank you, David. Any questions for David under the administrator's report? Seeing none, let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
Lakes and Ponds Committee meets tomorrow, Tuesday, November 24th, remote meeting at 7 p.m. The link is on our website. Planning Board meets, Midcoast Solid Waste Board that's listed here has been scratched. The Midcoast Board is now gone to bi-monthly meetings. Their next meeting will be in mid-December. Planning Board meets Wednesday, November 25th, 7 p.m. remote meeting. The town office will be closed in observance of the Thanksgiving holidays for Thursday and Friday of this week. Monday, November 30th, 6 o'clock, will be a workshop with the Board of Selectmen and the Harbor Committee. Recreation Commission is scheduled to meet December 7th, 5:30. Board of Selectmen have a workshop on their efficient service deliveries on Monday, November 7th at 6 p.m. Planning Board is scheduled to meet Wednesday, December 9th, 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen meet next in regular session on Monday, December 14th, 6 p.m. And the special election and town meeting will be on Tuesday, December 15th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the gymnasium of the Lincolnville Central School, or via absentee ballot now.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any upcoming community events anyone would care to share? Seeing nothing, let's move along to the meeting minutes. We have 2 sets, one from the 9th and one from the 16th. Just wanted to point out that on line 90, I believe it is, for the meeting minutes from November 9th, I believe that it should have said, Dunn stated that participation would be better than not, rather than participation would be than not. That's the only thing I found.
I move with
Well,
the.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Karen, go ahead. Sorry.
I dare you.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, I move that the board approve the November 9th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented with one change.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Garrettson. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
Yes,
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes, and we have the second set of meeting minutes.
I move that the board approve the November 16th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Garrettson. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes,
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
Yes,
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes, the motion passes. Thank you all very much. And we have before us two community interest forms, both for previous longtime members of the Budget Committee, and I will entertain a motion. I'll note that they weren't specifically invited to come and participate because of their experience, but certainly if the board wishes to, I see Gary's watching, but certainly if the board wishes to have a conversation, that would be great and fine too. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Gary Schwall and Reed Matthews to the Budget Committee as regular member, terms expiring June of 2021.
Second.
yeah.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Garrettson. Is there any discussion? Thank you both for offering your services to the town. An important job. If there's no discussion, Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes,
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
Yes,
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. Thank you both very much. We'll be seeing a lot of you on this Zoom thing here coming up soon.
Thank you.
So next, David, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Previously, the board approved a purchase and sale agreement with the Lincolnville Historical Society to acquire the town's property that's located at 33 Beach Road. Commonly referred to as the LIA building. The town attorney and I, mostly the town attorney, has put together a quitclaim deed, closing statement, real estate transfer tax declaration, and a lease assignment and assumption agreement regarding these properties or this property. And the purchase and sale had the closing to take place prior to December 11th, which is prior to your next regularly scheduled meeting. So these are before you to make sure that they're okay by you and to authorize someone to be able to sign on behalf of the town. And then we'll schedule a closing with the Historical Society and move on to the sale.
It's great. Thank you. Any questions for David? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move with
The
the
board
board.
authorize and direct the town administrator to execute and deliver the claim deed and to execute any necessary paperwork reasonably incident to the sale of the property at 33 Beach Road, tax map 1 lot 49 to the Lincolnville Historical Society.
Second,
Moved by Selectman Garrettson, seconded by Selectman Late. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Selectman Late, what's your vote?
yes,
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
yes.
Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, David, for doing that. And then, David, you have an update for us from your last two meetings with the EMS project, for lack of a better name.
At the board's November 9th meeting, you asked that I participate in the upcoming two meetings of the Camden Rockport Penn Bay Medical Center EMS project. The agendas are in your meeting packet. I would say the first of the two meetings, which was held on the 12th, was basically a review of what had been done to date and what they were looking at or would be looking at and who they were talking to. So I didn't come away particularly enlightened from that meeting. The meeting last Thursday was a little bit more in depth. Obviously, their project team still has a lot of work to do, but if you look on that agenda or the project update, the big thing that they're honing in on now is option 3, which is looking at options, or section 3 here, which is looking at options. The first being status quo, essentially just doing what we're doing now and continuing on without any changes. Option 2 would be to look at, take the data that they've gathered thus far, look to present possible improvements still with our current vendor, providing both service for E911 and for interfacility transfer, but basically evaluating the system, making recommendations for changes based on knowledge and what they see occurring. Option 3 would be to look at a fire-based EMS system solely for 911. In other words, basically a town-operated fire-based, meaning fire department-based service. They're looking at the potential for kind of a spoke and hub and spoke setup where there'd be central stations and then other stations that might be occupied either all day long or at certain higher volume times of year. And it would be a town-run system without any involvement in the interfacility transfers. Option 4 being that same fire base, but also doing interfacility transfers with a municipal service. Option 5 being a fire-based EMS for 911, but having a vendor similar to Northeast Mobile Health continue to do the interfacility transfers like they did prior to when they moved over to do E911 in this area. Northeast Mobile Health had a small base here that was just doing transfers from the hospitals. And option 6 is more of a long-ranged kind of a mixed use, which wasn't very well defined, I think, during the conversation, but was talked about a little bit and is still being explored. One of the options that isn't here that I inquired about was brought up early on in a different meeting I attended about EMS, which is over in Franklin County. Maine Health, who's the parent company of Penn Bay Medical Center and Maine Med, operates a hospital in Franklin County, and they actually operate the ambulance service there in all of Franklin County, and I believe a couple of communities that are outside of Franklin County. And what happens there is this service, they have multiple, because of the size of the service territory, they have multiple station locations. And they, in essence, the hospital or Maine Health has agreed with the communities that it will be operated as a nonprofit wing of the hospital or entity of the hospital, so that any monies they get in doing transfers goes into the system. Any monies they get from 911 responses with transfers goes into the system. And any shortfall that's left gets made up by all the communities sharing on some formula basis. Thus far, Maine Health has not expressed any real interest in replicating that model in this area. So that's not currently in the mix, but it might be something more of on a long-term basis, but apparently they're not pursuing that. So I didn't do a very good job of explaining the options they're necessarily looking at. What they're looking to do is have a couple more meetings between now and the end of the year. And then the consultants are proposing perhaps a They refer to it as a mega meeting of select board members, so that they can present the report and the options that they've looked and their findings and their recommendations for how they see the communities moving forward. So at this point, with the recommendation or the board sending me to 2 and more meetings coming up through mid-December or the end of December, I obviously wanted to report back to you because that's what you asked me to do. And I do think it's worthwhile and in the best interest of the town that we continue to attend and participate in these meetings, whether that be me or somebody else of your liking. I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Thank you for that, David.
Yep. I ramble enough?
That's great. Any questions for David or comments?
So
Thank
David.
you for
this
going,
next-
and
I'm sorry,
Mike,
go ahead, Josh.
Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna ask David, so you said that its next meeting, to be clear, by the end of the year, they will present their final recommendations to select boards? Is that where it's going?
Well, that was their discussion. At one point, they were looking to try to hold this mega meeting
Yeah,
in the middle of December. I don't think that's realistic based on the schedule that they set forth. There's a meeting, not this week, a meeting scheduled for next week on the Thursday, and to take some of the data and refine it a little bit. And then I think their hope is to meet on the 10th, either with some of the fire chiefs that had proposed a fire based EMS option, and or with Northeast to get a little more data from them, and then take all of that information and refine it and try to schedule a meeting. But to be quite honest, scheduling a meeting between Thanksgiving and Christmas without an advance notice can be very challenging. And
Okay.
I can see, I mean, I've already seen how this has been extended a little bit on now, and I just know I can almost feel it's going to be extended again.
okay, thanks.
Josh, you had a question?
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing about the next meeting and just hearing more about these different options as we move forward. And I guess we'll finally have our super meeting of all the select boards.
Yeah, what a concept to have the actual policymakers get together to talk about setting policy. Okay, well, are there any other questions or comments, or would someone care to make sorry, David?
Oh, sorry, one more comment. It's not directly related to well, it is directly related to EMS, but not to this study. We have had preliminary contact from the chair of the EMS Performance Review Committee, suggesting that perhaps we have scheduled a meeting in early December. We did a little follow-up with our 2 representatives. One's gotten back to me and the other has not, as well as with the chair to try to figure out, what the agenda for that meeting would be, but I haven't heard back from that. So just so you know that there are things moving.
David, you took the wind out of my sails. I
Oh,
was finally going to have an update.
Oh, sorry. You can still provide that. And just for everyone's knowledge, in case you are unaware, our current contract goes through June 30th of 2021. And that's just 7 months and 7 days away.
Right.
Yep, here we are again. Well, with that being said, let's continue to be as proactive as circumstances allow us. And would someone care to make a motion?
I move to have the town administrator continue to attend and participate in the EMS project meeting of the steering committee, and that he report back to the board at appropriate intervals and or when key decisions must be made.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Late, seconded by Selectman Ray. Are there any more conversations? Seeing nothing. Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Thank you, David, for continuing to offer your time towards this. And I hope you have a sip of water nearby because you're going to keep talking, David. It's time to talk about fiscal year 2022 budget goals and priorities of the board.
Yeah, so internally, we're starting to get ready to send out requests to provider agencies and to department heads to start compiling the FY22 budget. And if the board had any specific items or projects they wish to make sure were included in that, at least, to start, the sooner we know about them, the better we all are in terms of what we can prepare. I know we have a number of things in FY21 that aren't yet complete, but we still have 7 months and 7 days left to go in this fiscal year. So those things are in the works, hopefully. And this certainly isn't the last opportunity. So if you have something on your mind that you want to flesh out a little bit more, by all means do so, but want to get you thinking about the upcoming budget. So nobody's going to be surprised, come February when we're reviewing things that, oh, I didn't know that we were doing this. I want to make sure we fund this. That's kind of the thought behind starting now.
David, do you have at your fingertips the things that we knocked off the budget due to the pandemic?
I don't have them in this room, but I would think that they will all be back in there. I think they were all capital. Well, they weren't all capital projects, but most of the capital projects.
Okay. Yeah, largely I feel like those are the ones that pop into my mind, as well as what we're going to talk about at our next agenda item, which is continuing to explore efficient delivery of services and the implications on the budget.
Yeah, I would anticipate that when we get down to, what is it, item number 12, and we actually get to that workshop, some of these items are going to mesh together a little better than the just jumbled mess that they seem to be at the moment.
It's a rough draft. It's the outline.
It's starting to get everybody thinking that here it comes again, and it will be upon us before we know it. And when we'll talk about the schedule here momentarily, some of this is assuming we're still going to be doing remote meetings, and some of it's assuming we're actually going to have a town meeting. But we'll talk about that in the next agenda item.
So ideas or potential projects that the board may want to consider for next year?
In addition to what we've already talked about?
Yeah, or just refreshers of things we talked about previously.
I mean, certainly, I've had a couple citizens talk to me about sidewalks. And so, revisiting that, but I'm assuming that that's going to be part of the things that got knocked off at our last budget meeting.
One of the things that is somewhere in the realm of things that the board has talked about, not talked about, not talked about. We never got to assigning dollar figures, was the potential to have either iPads or laptops for selectmen, so you could get electronic packet and stuff like that. I mean, none of that is particularly challenging, but it does take a little bit of time. And if it's worthwhile for us to spend somebody's time exploring what works well for others, that's something you want on the list, let me know. If it's not, I'll just stop talking about it.
Well,
I think that's something that we should get back on the list. Not only does it help us with our meetings every month and retention of our own notes to refer back to instead of rifling through papers. And I'm only speaking for myself. I'm sure that everybody else is a lot more organized than I am. But if you're also a representative of this town for other organizations, i.e. Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation, it certainly would help there. I can attest to that. There's a lot of documentation on things outside of Lincolnville that have all to do with the town of Lincolnville. So I can see a one-time purchase or a purchase to get started on an iPad or something like that being very beneficial in that way. Although I'm not sure it would be a hefty expense, but there was obviously going to be some type of investment to get in it. And these are things that can be recycled from term to term to other selectmen. So it's just a thought. We got to step forward. Technology is moving, and if we don't move with technology, then we get left behind in certain areas.
Yeah, I concur. I'd be curious just to look at, the scope of expense and maintenance for
Sure.
something like that. Okay, great. Anything else pop into anyone's head? I mean, and certainly as David said, this is not by far the last time we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, just real quickly, has anybody ever talked about, or have the previous boards talked about having some kind of camera surveillance system at the salt and sand shed area? I know that we have a restriction on number of buckets of sand. And I would hate to think that people are, when they're putting it in the pickup trucks, that they have no reason not to think that they're breaking policy. If there's a camera there and it's posted, they're reminded of that. And maybe but I don't want to get all big brotherish on us either, but it just seems to me that's our that's town-owned property, and I would hate to see it squandered and or stolen.
Farley had a camera up there last year, and he indicated that they were going to install camera again for this winter, correct, David?
They certainly had one there previously, and I don't remember what he told you the other day.
I'm pretty sure he said he planned on getting it back in action. Yeah.
He did indicate that would go back up there. Mike, I agree with you. It's town infrastructure. People are there when, in off hours. It's something we should look at. It certainly is not going to cost us any money to get a figure to put something in there. We down at the harbor too, we need to move forward with that down there sooner than later. So we do have areas that really should be talked about.
And in talking with, we may end up talking with one of the providers, LCI, or people who might be laying fiber, because we may want to, Kern, you'd know more about this than I would, but we may end up wanting to tie into something like that if we're looking at harbor and a couple other different installations,
Well, David, you already have that ball rolling specifically with the harbor, getting the fiber up and running there. That's kind of the crux move there.
I hope to have some dollars and cents for your 14th meeting on that, so we can actually pull the trigger on that project or shelve it.
Great.
And also the broadband committee, when we present on the 14th, we'll be recommending a dollar figure for a study. So that'll be in a few weeks. And by the way, my internet connection seems to be really unstable, so I apologize if I'm sort of cutting in and out.
That's all right, Josh. We're talking about internet right now. It always happens when we talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, well, put your thinking caps on, and this conversation will certainly to be continued. So if there's nothing further there, right on the heels of talking about budget goals and priorities, we have the preliminary schedule for budget conversations and town meeting before us. So please speak up now if there is anything that looks impossible for anyone. And
And we're
David,
assuming that these will all be remote,
yes.
most
Uh,
likely.
I'm assuming that everything will be remote up to the actual voting in June. And if it'll all be secret ballot, we'll have to add some public hearings into this and push things back for deadlines, but it's kind of assuming that any meeting leading up to it in preparation will be remote, and then the actual town meeting will be either in the ballot or in a gathering of people in June.
Okay. Well, there it is. There's our winter. Any other questions or final thoughts, David? Comments for the board?
No, just it is going to all be obviously in a state of flux, depending on the health and welfare of everybody and any executive orders that come down. So we're going to need some flexibility, but we have to start somewhere, and we'll update this as we know more dates. And the best we can do at the time is plan for the worst and hope for the best, I guess.
Okay, and just there are these 4 specific dates that have those chiseled in stone to the extent that we can. Okay, if there's nothing further there on agenda item number 11, let's move along to agenda item number 12. And David, do you want to speak on this?
Just ever so briefly, the board had previously set Monday, December 7th as the workshop to discuss facilities and staffing, and thus far we're putting together the master list of park concerns expressed to date and things that we're aware of that need to be addressed. We're looking to obtain some sample policies from other communities about how they manage their parks. And this goes beyond the park to also going back and looking at what we do for staffing and the job descriptions. A lot of that, not a lot of it, but you've got to recall that Road Commissioner Young has indicated that this would be his last term as road commissioner. So we've got to keep that in our mind on how if we're going to combine anything with that job or take something away. I mean, take it away from that job, or how we're going to address that. And then going back to the vendor list we put together earlier. So we're kind of looking if there are other things that you think would be helpful to you for when we get to the workshop that we can get together earlier. Happy to do so, but that's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks away. So we want to make sure that we've got the information you need so we can make the workshop as productive as possible.
I think the list that you've outlined really kind of ticks all the boxes for me, but I'd love to hear from the rest of the board if there's anything missing.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that, David, when you come back with some samples of staffing lists, if you have, I don't know if this is unrealistic, but if you could get kind of a representative sample from other towns of how other towns may do it. That is, how other towns may have consolidated different positions, have one person wear 3 hats to do the 3 things that we like done, for example. If you could include some of that in there, that would be helpful for me, so I could see that. Like I said, I don't know how hard that information would be to get.
I I don't think it's going to be particularly hard to get. It may be challenging to match up
Right.
our situations with theirs, but you can draw some similarities and some parallels probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect apples to apples at
Yep.
all, but it'd be nice to see sometimes how other look at other models.
Sure. I think that we can talk to some managers and administrators elsewhere of similarly sized communities.
Okay.
Or a range of similarly sized, maybe with us somewhere near the middle to try to draw out how they do what they do and where they do it.
Mhm.
Thanks.
As you said, David, so many times, why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to?
Yeah. Good.
Any other thoughts on this from the board? And David, are we still getting any thoughts or comments from the community with regards to the park, suggestions, concerns, anything?
No, I think right now everybody's kind of in a wait and see where we are and when we're going to have more discussions about this. The goal that we're working towards is still of a transfer roughly year end or first of the new year.
Okay.
So we still have some time, but not in an inordinate amount of time. And spring will be upon us before we know it.
From your mouth. Okay, well, if there's nothing further on this particular agenda item, we will have ample time to talk about it. And David, do if the board wishes to hit you up with any other suggestions, do you have a deadline that you'd like to have those suggestions to you by?
Obviously the sooner the better, so we can do the work in gathering information, but I can kind of roll with it right up to the bitter end. We are going to put together some an agenda for this coming Monday for the harbor workshop. So if you have some ideas on that, that's not in this thing discussion either, but if you've got some thoughts or things you'd like to have for that, that's fair game as well. Just let me know.
That sounds great. Okay. Thank you very much. And let's move along to selectmen updates. Kern, do you have any updates for us?
I don't have any update. I know in the past I've had absolutely no trouble talking, but right now I've got nothing to say. Mark that on the calendar. Obviously with Midco Solid Waste, we're very, very busy, but we have gone to bi-monthly. So our next meeting is middle of December. And I'll have something after that. Things are going very well down there. I did get a chance to look at the budget and today, preliminary budget for next year, and the comments about this year's budget leading up to the end of the year where it was, we are in the black and things are going very well. We've installed some new monitoring equipment down there, which is all paid for, and we're doing well. I know that there might be some changes due to the pandemic, staffing type of thing, staggering shifts and things of that nature to protect our workers. But that we're ready for that. The schedule has been developed, and we may have to scale back like we did before on some of the recyclables, just until we can all get back to work. But and I said I didn't have anything to say, so that's all I got.
Thank you so much. Josh, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, so the broadband committee has completed the report. I'm just doing the finishing touches on typos and whatnot, and I'll be sending that to David soon. And we're looking forward to presenting that on the 14th, and we're going to have a number of committee members present. So if there's any questions I can't answer, they'll be there to those.
Great, thank you very much. Selectman Ray, do you have an update for us?
Oh, Well, the only update I have is on that woodshed thing, and nothing's happening yet. And I wish I could say more. Bob, Walter County Woodshed, Bob McGregor said that he may be dropping by a few cords first, then staking where he wants the shed built, and then dropping materials off. And then we have organized at least 3 volunteers through the woodshed to help put the thing together. I will call Bob tomorrow and say, where are we in this? He thought he might drop the stuff off this weekend, but I was down there Sunday afternoon and I didn't see anything. But it should get built, and it should get built before the snow. So
I'm sure it's a really busy time of year for those guys too. So
yeah. Well, that's what he said. He said he wanted to, get it. He wanted to build the thing, and then he realized no, he's got, large amounts of wood to get in Searsmont. So.
yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that update. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I had an update, but David updated for me. We got a message from the Camden town manager that the chair of the EMS review committee would like to have a meeting. So just waiting to get confirmation of a date and topic of conversation, because it's not in relation to an actual report. So to be determined. Okay, last agenda item before everyone's favorite agenda item. We have the treasurer and payroll warrants to approve and sign.
Well, I will move that the board approve the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Ray, seconded by Selectman Late. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. Motion passes. And is there any other business the board wishes to attend to tonight?
Nope.
Seeing nothing, I will entertain a final motion, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Selectman Late motion, Selectman Ray seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Selectman Late, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Garrettson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Selectman Ray, what's your vote?
Yes.
And Selectman Dunn, my vote is yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Don't get blown
Good
away.
night.